Captain Jack Miller stared at the blinking red light on his control panel. His ship, the Earth Voyager, had been drifting through this unexplored sector for 3 weeks when they picked up the signal. A distress call, but not like any he had heard before. "What do you think, Rogers?" Jack asked his first officer, who stood with arms crossed, eyeing the strange pattern on the scanner. "I think we should report it and wait for backup," Rogers said. His voice was flat, careful. In the 5 years they had worked together, Rogers had always been the voice of caution. Jack grinned and spun in his chair. "Where's the fun in that? This is why we're out here. First contact, maybe." He pressed a button on the comm system. "All hands, prepare for rescue operation. We've got someone who needs help." The crew gathered quickly. Most looked excited, but a few shared worried glances. "Captain," said Dr. Bell, the ship's scientist, "we don't know what's out there. The signal pattern suggests technology we've never seen. We should be careful." Jack's smile only grew wider. "This will be fun. Think about it. We could be the first humans to meet a new species." The entire bridge crew groaned. They had learned what happened when their captain said those words. "Last time you said that, we ended up swimming out of a sinking shuttle," Rogers muttered. "And we all lived to tell the tale," Jack replied, already heading toward the door. "Now let's go help whoever is out there." 6 hours later, the Earth Voyager pulled alongside the damaged alien ship. It was beautiful, like a giant blue teardrop with rings of light pulsing along its surface. "No response to our communications," said Gomes at the comm station. "Then we'll have to go say hello in person," Jack said, grabbing his helmet. The boarding party consisted of Jack, Rogers, Dr. Bell, and Jenkins, their engineer. They crossed through the docking tube and entered the alien vessel. The inside glowed with soft blue light. The halls curved in strange ways that made the humans feel slightly dizzy. They found the bridge quickly, following the stronger lights. 5 aliens turned to look at them. They had thin bodies with 4 arms and large, round heads with 3 eyes set in a triangle pattern. Their skin shimmered with colors that shifted as they moved. "Hello," Jack said, raising his empty hands. "We're here to help." The translator in his suit worked quickly to decode the strange whistling language of the aliens. One stepped forward. "You are not like any species we know," it said through the translator. "We are the Trill. Our engine system has failed. We have been waiting for rescue for many days." Jack smiled and waved Jenkins forward. "We're humans, from Earth, and you're in luck. Jenkins here can fix anything." Jenkins studied the alien engine room with wide eyes. The technology was far beyond human understanding, with crystals that seemed to float in the air and energy that flowed like water through tubes. "Captain," Jenkins whispered, "I don't understand any of this." Jack slapped him on the back. "Just look at it like a puzzle. This will be fun." The Trill all stepped back at once, their skin colors turning a deep purple. "What does this word mean?" "Fun," one asked nervously. "It means enjoyable, exciting," Jack explained. Then he turned to Jenkins. "Start with the basics. What's getting power and what isn't?" For the next 5 hours, Jenkins worked on the alien engine while Jack chatted with the Trill. The aliens watched in horror as Jenkins tried different approaches, sometimes causing small sparks or brief power surges. "Is this normal?" the Trill captain asked as Jenkins connected 2 systems with what looked like ordinary tape. "Duct tape," Jack explained proudly. "We never leave Earth without it." When Jenkins finally rerouted the power matrix through an emergency backup system of his own design, the alien ship hummed back to life. The Trill were amazed. Their skin turned bright yellow with blue spots, which Jack later learned was their expression of surprise and happiness. "Your method was chaotic," the Trill captain said. "We would never have tried such unusual solutions." Jack grinned. "Sometimes chaos works. That's the human way." As they prepared to return to their ship, the Trill captain approached Jack. "We will tell others about humans," it said. About how you say this will be fun before doing things that seem dangerous. Jack laughed. That's just how we are. Hope to see you around the galaxy. What Jack didn't know was that the Trill immediately sent messages to every allied species. The message was simple. A new species called humans has entered the stars. When they say this will be fun, prepare yourself. Or run. 3 years had passed since humans first met the Trill. In that time, Earth had joined the galactic community, learning about the many species that filled the stars. Now, the grand halls of the Galactic Council building towered over Ambassador Tom Reed as he straightened his tie. This was humanity's big moment, their first official invitation to speak before all the major races. Remember, his assistant whispered, be formal, be respectful, and please, don't say it will be fun. Tom laughed. I've been briefed on the fun warning. Apparently, our reputation got here before we did. The massive doors opened, revealing a circular chamber filled with hundreds of alien representatives. Some looked almost human, while others were so strange that Tom couldn't tell which end was their face. The room fell quiet as Tom walked to the central platform. Greetings, Tom said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. I am honored to represent Earth and humanity before this council. The head counselor, a tall blue being with 6 eyes named Voss, nodded. We welcome humans to this gathering. We have heard interesting reports about your species. Tom noticed how many of the aliens leaned forward in their seats, watching him closely. Word had spread fast about humans and their ways. We are eager to learn and share, Tom said. We bring new ideas and hope to contribute to the galaxy. The meeting went well until they reached the technology approval process. Tom watched in growing disbelief as Voss explained the system. Each new technology must be submitted to 5 different committees, Voss said. First, the Safety Committee reviews it for 3 standard months. Then, if approved, it goes to the Cultural Impact Committee for 6 months. After that, that's a total of over 2 standard years before anything gets approved. Tom interrupted, forgetting his briefing. Precisely, said Voss. This ensures proper evaluation. Tom glanced at his team. Engineer Pat looked ready to explode with frustration. Diplomat Kim was subtly shaking her head, warning him to stay quiet. Tom couldn't help himself. We could streamline this. It'll be fun. The chamber erupted in chaos. Several delegates physically backed away from the platform. Others began speaking rapidly in their own languages. A small green alien actually hid under its seat. There it is, Voss said, raising all 4 hands for quiet. The human fun we were warned about. Tom realized his mistake, but decided to press forward. I just meant we could make the process more efficient. On Earth, we found that small, diverse teams working together can achieve the same safety standards in a fraction of the time. By skipping steps, asked a rock-like alien from the back. Not skipping, combining, Tom explained. Instead of passing projects between committees, why not have representatives from each work together from the start? They can raise concerns in real time. The chamber grew quiet as the aliens considered this. This is not how things are done, Voss finally said. Maybe it should be, said a younger alien stepping forward. Tom recognized her as Lyra, assistant to the Trill ambassador. The humans repaired our ship using methods we would never have tried. Different doesn't always mean wrong. This sparked a heated debate. The older council members argued for tradition, while younger aliens supported trying the human approach. Perhaps, Voss finally said when the noise died down, we could try this human method on a small scale, 1 test case. Tom smiled. That's all we ask. Later, at the Earth Embassy, Tom's team celebrated their small victory. You just couldn't help yourself, could you? Kim asked, shaking her head. The moment you said fun, I thought they'd kick us out. Tom laughed. But they didn't. And now we have a chance to show them how humans do things. The younger aliens seem open to our ideas. Pat noted. Did you see how they defended us? That's our real victory, Tom said. We're not just joining their community. We're changing it." What Tom didn't know was that the council had already created a special committee, the Human Containment and Understanding Group. Their job, to monitor human fun and assess its threat level to galactic stability. At the same time, a growing number of young aliens had started a secret group of their own. They called themselves the Fun Seekers, and they wanted to learn more about the human way of solving problems. They had seen how the universe worked for thousands of years. Maybe it was time for something new. And across the galaxy, the warning continued to spread. When humans say, "This will be fun," prepare for change or run. The news spread through every corner of human space. The Galactic Council was hosting a competition to design the fastest ship in the galaxy. Every major species would compete, and the winner would receive not only fame, but also a contract to build the new Council exploration fleet. Lisa Brown could hardly believe it when she was chosen to lead the human team. At 32, she was considered young for such responsibility, but her work on the new Earth drive systems had caught attention. "This is our chance to show what humans can do," said Director Wilson during the briefing. "But please, Lisa, try not to scare the aliens too much." Lisa grinned. "I'll do my best, sir, but no promises." 2 weeks later, Lisa and her team of 5 engineers arrived at the Galactic Testing Facility. The massive space station orbited a distant star, providing teams with workshops, materials, and testing areas. 17 species had entered the competition. The rules were simple: build the fastest ship that could safely travel through an asteroid field course. Teams had 60 days to design, build, and test their vessels before the final race. The human team was given Workshop 12, right between the Trill and the slug-like Mulans. As Lisa toured the facility, she noticed how each species kept to itself, guarding their technology and plans. "That's not going to work for us," she told her team. "Let's go make some friends." Over the next few days, Lisa visited every workshop, bringing coffee or its alien equivalent, and asking questions about their homeworlds. Most aliens were suspicious at first, but Lisa's genuine interest won many over. "You humans are strange," said Drell, a tall Vorian with metallic skin. "You share information freely. Do you not worry about others stealing your ideas?" "Sharing leads to better ideas," Lisa explained. "Besides, we're going to win anyway. It'll be fun." The word fun spread through the station like wildfire. By the next morning, 3 teams had requested to be moved to workshops farther from the humans. Lisa just laughed and got to work. While other species carefully followed traditional design plans, the human team seemed to work in chaos. They tried ideas, scrapped them, combined concepts from different alien technologies, and worked through sleep cycles. The Galactic Council observers watched with growing concern as Lisa's team built what looked like a patchwork ship. They had adapted a Trill crystal drive, modified it with Vorian metal casings, and added what appeared to be cooling systems inspired by Mulan biology. "This can't possibly work," one observer whispered to another. "They're mixing technologies that were never meant to be combined." By day 40, several teams had visited the human workshop in secret, curious about their approach. Lisa happily showed them around, explaining their thinking. "You're not worried we'll copy your ideas?" asked a young Trill engineer. "Go ahead," Lisa said, "but I bet you won't. Your people like proven methods. We like to experiment." On testing day, ships took turns making practice runs through a simple course. Most performed as expected, with the Vorians setting the top speed, until the human ship launched. Lisa's vessel, which they had named Frankenstein, accelerated so quickly that the monitoring systems briefly lost track of it. The observers gasped as it hit speeds nearly double the Vorian ship. "How is this possible?" demanded the chief judge. Lisa shrugged. "We found that if you modify the crystal drive with a pulse sequence instead of a steady flow, and cool it with a liquid metal system, you can push it much harder before it overheats." The day before the final race, disaster struck. During a test run, Frankenstein's main drive cracked, leaving the human team with a useless ship. "We're finished," moaned one of Lisa's engineers. "We can't rebuild in 24 hours." Lisa looked around at the pieces of their ship. "Maybe we don't need to rebuild. Maybe we just need to adapt." Through the night, the human team worked, stripping down their ship to its core components and rebuilding it with spare parts. When morning came, Frankenstein barely resembled a ship at all. It looked more like a collection of parts held together with hope. The other teams stared in disbelief as Lisa prepared to board. "You can't fly that," Drell said. "It's not safe." Lisa patted the misshapen hull. "That's what makes it fun." When the race began, no one expected the human ship to survive the first turn of the asteroid field. Instead, it not only completed the course but finished 3 minutes ahead of the nearest competitor. As Lisa accepted the victory trophy, she noticed something strange. A small group of young aliens from various species wearing pins with the Earth symbol. When she asked one about it later, the young Trill smiled. "We're learning to appreciate human fun. It's chaotic and terrifying, but also brilliant." Following the space race incident, the Galactic Council decided it needed to better understand humans. They announced a cultural exchange program where species would share their customs in a controlled environment. Professor Mike Wilson, an expert in interspecies relations, was chosen to lead the human delegation. The exchange was to be held on a neutral space station, with 20 different species participating. Mike and his team of 10 humans arrived early, setting up their area with items from Earth. Musical instruments, sports equipment, board games, and most importantly, food. Remember, Mike told his team, "Our goal is to show them not all human activities lead to chaos." The opening ceremony was formal and stiff. Each species introduced themselves with careful speeches about peace and understanding. When it was Mike's turn, he stepped up to the podium smiling. "We appreciate all the fancy words," he said, "but I think we'll learn more about each other by doing things together. So I propose we have an interspecies fun day." The room fell silent. Several alien representatives visibly tensed at the word fun. The Galactic Council representative, a tall Vorian named Krell, stepped forward. "Professor Wilson, perhaps you are unaware of the concerns regarding human activities labeled as fun." Mike laughed. "Oh, I'm aware. But there's a difference between an engineer saying, 'Let's have fun with this engine design,' and me suggesting we play some games together. Games with rules. Safe rules." After much debate, the aliens agreed to Mike's proposal, though many looked worried. The next day, the human section of the station was transformed. They had set up areas for different activities, a small field for sports, tables for board games, and a cooking area. "Welcome to Earth Day," Mike announced to the gathered aliens. "We've prepared several activities to share our culture. You can try whatever interests you." The aliens moved cautiously at first, watching as humans demonstrated various games. A group of Trill observed a game of chess with interest. "This seems safe," one Trill said. "It is merely strategic thinking." "Would you like to try?" asked Linda, a human chess champion. The Trill agreed, and soon several aliens were engaged in chess matches. In another area, Sam taught aliens how to play basketball. The Vorians, with their tall bodies, proved naturally skilled. The small, quick Mulans preferred soccer, darting between other players with surprising speed. "This is physical competition," said Drell, the Vorian who had competed in the space race, "but with rules to prevent harm." Interesting. As the day progressed, more aliens began participating. The humans introduced Capture the Flag, which quickly became popular among the younger aliens. Teams formed across species lines, with humans scattered among them to explain the rules. "Get the flag," shouted a young Mulan, racing across the field with surprising speed. A Trill and human worked together to block his path. The most hesitant species was the Zeth, a group of rock-like beings known for their caution. They watched from the sidelines until Mike approached their leader. "Not interested in games?" he asked. We Zeth avoid unnecessary movement and risk, the leader explained. Mike nodded. I understand. How about something different? We brought cooking equipment. Would you like to learn about human food? This caught the Zeth's interest. They followed Mike to the cooking station, where humans were teaching aliens to make simple dishes. This is called a s'more, explained Kate, a human chef. It's a traditional treat we make when camping. The aliens watched with interest as Kate melted chocolate and toasted marshmallows over a small controlled plasma fire, then sandwiched them between graham crackers. The combination of textures and flavors is important, she explained, offering samples. The Zeth leader cautiously tasted a s'more, and his rocky face shifted in what humans had learned was their expression of pleasure. This is acceptable, the Zeth said, which from them was high praise. By the end of the day, something remarkable had happened. Species that normally kept to themselves were mingling, sharing experiences about the human games. I must admit, Krell told Mike at the closing ceremony, your fun day was not the disaster we feared. Some activities were even enjoyable. Mike smiled. That's the thing about human fun. It's not all dangerous experiments and reckless decisions. Sometimes it's just about connecting with others. As the exchange continued over the following weeks, more alien species began requesting to learn human games. Some even started combining human games with their own cultural activities, creating new traditions. The alarm sounded throughout the Galactic Alliance headquarters, its high-pitched wail echoing down every corridor. Emergency lights flashed as officials from a dozen species rushed toward the command center. Inside, a large screen showed a fleet of warships approaching Alliance space. The Krell have crossed the neutral zone, announced First Commander Vox, a veteran Vorian military leader. They've ignored all warnings and destroyed 2 of our outposts already. The room fell silent. The Krell were known throughout the galaxy as aggressive conquerors, a species that believed all others existed to serve them. Until now, they had kept to their territory, but something had changed. Our long-range scans showed 27 warships, said a Trill officer. Their weapons are powered and targeting systems are active. Admiral Susan Grant, the human representative to the Alliance military, studied the tactical display. Earth had joined the Alliance just 2 years ago, and this was the first major crisis they have faced together. She noticed how the other commanders looked at the screen with growing despair. The Krell formation is perfect, said the Zeth commander. Our standard defense patterns will not be effective against their numbers. Susan stepped forward. If I may make a suggestion. All eyes turned to her. Why don't you let us handle this? The human fleet is closest to their approach vector. First Commander Vox looked skeptical. Your 6 ships against 27 Krell warships. That would be suicide. Susan smiled. We've got some fun ideas we'd like to try. The Alliance commanders exchanged worried glances. By now, all of them knew what humans meant by fun. Admiral Grant, said Vox carefully, we appreciate your enthusiasm, but the Krell are not like the challenges you've faced before. They have been waging war for thousands of years. Their tactics are precise and lethal. That's exactly their weakness, Susan replied. They're predictable. They expect everyone to fight the same way they do, with logical formations and standard attack patterns. We won't do that. After much debate, the Alliance agreed to let the human ships engage first, but only because they needed time to gather their larger fleet. 6 human vessels against 27 Krell warships seemed like a losing battle from the start. Captain James Lee of the Earth ship Defiant received the battle plan from Susan herself. This can't be right, he said, looking at the tactics she had sent. These maneuvers are unorthodox. That's putting it mildly, Susan replied over the comm. I'm calling it controlled chaos. The Krell expect us to follow standard military doctrine. Let's show them something they've never seen. As the Krell fleet approached, they detected the 6 human ships moving to intercept them. The Krell commander, a scared veteran named Drac, laughed when his sensors officer reported the small opposing force. "These creatures insult us by sending so few ships," he said. "Destroy them quickly, then we proceed to the Alliance core worlds." But as the Krell moved into their attack formation, something strange happened. The human ships didn't form a defensive line as expected. Instead, they scattered in different directions, each one executing seemingly random maneuvers at high speed. "What are they doing?" Drac demanded. "This is not a recognized combat formation." The human ships darted between Krell vessels, firing short bursts at engines and weapon systems before speeding away. They used the Krell's own ships as shields against other Krell vessels. When the Krell adjusted their formation to trap a human ship, the others would suddenly attack from unexpected vectors. "Sir, they're using some kind of modified weapons," reported a Krell officer. "Our shields are failing under their fire." What the Krell didn't know was that the humans had taken technology, learned from various Alliance species, and combined them in ways never tried before. Their ships were faster than they should be, their weapons hit harder than their size suggested possible, and their shields flickered at frequencies that confused Krell targeting systems. After 2 hours of chaotic battle, 7 Krell ships had been disabled, and the rest were struggling to maintain formation. Not a single human vessel had been destroyed, though all showed damage. Then, just as the Krell began to adapt, the main Alliance fleet arrived. 60 warships dropping out of faster-than-light travel and surrounding the remaining Krell vessels. Drac, his own ship damaged and many of his fleet disabled, gave the order to retreat. The Krell escaped back across the neutral zone, leaving behind their damaged ships. In the Alliance Command Center, the various commanders watched in stunned silence. "What did we just witness?" asked the Trill commander. News of the strange illness spread quickly through the Alliance worlds. It started on a small trading post near the Outer Rim, a mysterious disease that caused the victim's skin to harden and crack. Within days, it had spread to 3 more planets. The Galactic Medical Council called it the Stone Plague. Dr. Alan Parker was working late in his lab on Earth when he received the urgent message from the Alliance. They needed Earth's best medical researchers to join the fight against the outbreak. Alan, at 45, had already made a name for himself with breakthrough treatments for several human diseases. He was the natural choice to lead Earth's team. 3 days later, Alan and his team of 5 scientists arrived at the Alliance medical station orbiting Trill Prime. The station had been converted into a quarantine and research facility, with the best medical minds from 17 species working around the clock. The head of the Galactic Medical Council, a Vorian doctor named Zell, greeted them. "The situation is worse than we first thought," she explained, leading them to the research center. "The plague has now appeared on 12 worlds. We've quarantined them, but we don't know how it spreads or how to treat it." Alan studied the data on the main screen. Thousands of cases, with hundreds more appearing each day. All victims showed the same progression. Their skin hardened, turning gray and cracking like stone, slowly spreading until they couldn't move. "How many teams are working on this?" Alan asked. 23, Zell replied, "each following our standard research protocols." Alan watched as alien scientists moved methodically through their labs, carefully documenting each step, following precise procedures that had been established over centuries. "And what have you found so far?" he asked. Zell's voice was grim. "Very little. We've determined it's not a virus or bacteria as we understand them. It seems to be some kind of molecular agent that reprograms cellular structures, but it doesn't match anything in our databases." Alan looked at his team. "Looks like we're going to have to get creative. Let's set up our lab and have some fun with some unconventional approaches." The alien researchers nearby visibly stiffened at the word fun. By now, that human expression had become infamous throughout the galaxy. "Dr. Parker," Zell said cautiously, "we have established protocols for a reason. This is a serious situation that requires careful, methodical research." Alan nodded respectfully. "I understand, but sometimes a fresh perspective helps. We'll share all our findings, I promise." While the alien teams continued their careful work, the humans set up a lab that soon looked like chaos to outside observers. They worked in shifts around the clock, trying combinations of compounds that made the alien scientists nervous. They played loud music, argued openly about theories, and sometimes went with hunches rather than methodical testing. "They're going to kill us all," muttered a Zeth researcher as he watched Alan mixing compounds that, according to standard practice, should never be combined. By the end of the first week, the alien teams had made small progress, mapping the molecular structure of the plague agent. The human team, meanwhile, seemed to be working on dozens of different approaches simultaneously. "What exactly is your research plan?" Zell asked during a daily briefing. Ellen grinned. "We're trying everything. Bob's team is looking at mineral compounds that might block the agent. Maria's group is testing temperature effects. I've been playing with some old Earth cooking ingredients combined with fuel additives." "Cooking ingredients? With fuel additives?" Zell looked horrified. "Why would you even think to try that?" Ellen shrugged. "Sometimes the best discoveries happen by accident. You have to let your mind make unusual connections." 2 weeks into the research, with the plague continuing to spread despite quarantine efforts, Alan burst into the main conference room during a meeting of the senior researchers. "We've got something," he announced, holding up a vial of pale green liquid. "This compound stops the hardening process in tissue samples and seems to reverse early-stage damage." The alien doctors stared in disbelief. "What is it?" Zell asked. "It's a combination of an earth herb called basil, a common fuel preservative, and a mineral found in Trill drinking water," Alan explained. "We noticed that there were no cases reported among maintenance workers on Trill ships, so we analyzed what made them different. They drink recycled water with higher mineral content, and they work around engine systems. The compound, which they named Flexolite, worked. Within days, early-stage victims began recovering. A modified version prevented infection entirely. The stone plague was contained. 20 years had passed since humans first ventured into the stars and met the Trill. 20 years of chaotic innovation, unexpected solutions, and phrases that made alien species nervous. Earth had become a full member of the Galactic Alliance, with human representatives in every major council and committee. Emma Clark stood before the mirror in her quarters on the Alliance Central Station, adjusting her formal diplomatic attire. At 35, she represented the new generation of human diplomats, those who had grown up knowing about alien species and understanding the complex dance of interstellar politics. Today was important. After years of work, she would present a new initiative to the Galactic Council. Her communication device chimed, displaying a message from her assistant. "Remember, they finally stopped sounding alarms when we say fun. Let's not restart that tradition." Emma smiled. The warning was unnecessary. She had been carefully planning this presentation for months. The council chamber was packed when she arrived. Representatives from over 40 species filled the tiered seating, their diverse forms creating a living rainbow of colors and shapes. The current head of the council, a Trill named Naren, nodded as Emma took her place at the speaker's platform. "The council recognizes Ambassador Emma Clark of Earth," Naren announced formally. "She will present a proposal for a new approach to galactic exploration." Emma looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes, or eye equivalents, of as many representatives as she could. She saw the Vorians with their metallic skin, the rock-like Zeth, the quick Mulans, and many others she had worked with over the years. "Distinguished representatives," she began, "for 20 years, humans have been learning from you. We've adapted to your protocols, your traditions, and your wisdom gathered over thousands of years. But we've also brought our own approach to the galaxy, one that sometimes seemed chaotic to you." Several aliens nodded in agreement, some even making their species equivalent of a laugh. "Today, I stand before you with a proposal that combines the best of both approaches, a new initiative for exploration that harnesses human creativity while respecting the caution and precision that has served the Alliance so well." She tapped a control, and a holographic display appeared, showing ships of unique design. "We propose mixed-species crews for a new generation of exploration vessels," Emma continued. "Ships that combine technologies from multiple worlds, with teams specifically designed to balance methodical analysis with creative problem-solving." The chamber remained silent as she outlined the details. Ships with both Vorian precision engineering and human adaptability. Scientific teams combining careful analysis with Earth's let's-try-it approach, and command structures that value both hierarchy and flexibility. When she finished, Emma took a deep breath. "This initiative will require us all to step outside our comfort zones. It will be challenging. It will sometimes be messy. But," she paused for just a moment, "it will be fun." 20 years earlier, that word would have triggered emergency protocols. Today, it generated a ripple of what humans recognized as the various species' versions of laughter. Nerin, the Trill Council head, was the first to speak. "Ambassador Clark, your proposal is unconventional. But then, so is your species." He turned to the assembled representatives. "The council will now deliberate." The debate lasted for hours. Some older representatives expressed concern about too much human influence on young crew members. Others pointed out how human approaches had already solved problems that had stumped the Alliance for decades. Finally, they'd reached a decision. Nerin called Emma back to the chamber. "The council has voted to approve your initiative, with some modifications," he announced. "We will create these mixed crews, with humans serving in what we're officially designating as controlled chaos specialist roles." Emma tried not to smile too broadly at the title. 6 months later, the first ship of the new exploration fleet prepared to depart. Emma stood in the observation lounge, watching as the crew, a mix of 6 different species, made final preparations. The captain, a young Vorian named Drell, approached her. "I wanted to thank you before we leave," he said. "Without your initiative, I would never have had this opportunity." Emma smiled. "You earned it. The selection committee was impressed with your willingness to embrace new ideas." Drell's metallic skin shimmered with what Emma had learned was excitement. "I should go. My crew is waiting." As he turned to leave, he added, "This mission will be challenging, but I think it will be," he used the human word carefully, "fun."